All right, we are back and we are live. Welcome back, you guys, to our daily live feed as you are getting logged on. If you would like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits, and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. If you're joining us on Instagram, we are live on YouTube and Facebook as well. I will be screen sharing. You can see the screen share on both YouTube and on Facebook. If you are on YouTube, then you can see all of the comments that come in as well. What's up, Jared? Welcome, you guys. Welcome. And then if this is a good one, I'll put it up on Spotify afterwards too. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But as always, I'll give you guys a few minutes to get logged on. What's up? Welcome, Raven. Welcome, Holly. So again, if you guys are getting on Instagram, you can watch on Instagram. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is a better experience if you go over to YouTube or to Facebook because you'll be able to see the photos and things like that we share on the screen. Of course, you can watch it afterwards there too. But how's everybody having? Is everybody having a good week so far? Welcome from New Zealand. That's awesome. Welcome. What's up? Yeah, say hi when you get logged on. It's always a big family in here. We're back. I know. I was going to try and get on yesterday, but I had my photo shoot that I did and I didn't get home in time. So wasn't able to. What's up over here from San Antonio? Yeah, long week. It was definitely a long week. It was fun though. This is the first time I've ever done the Arnold this way. As far as doing media and just being there by myself and covering it and not having clients in it. This is the first time that's ever happened. So it was different. I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing the coverage. So as we're getting started on this live feed tonight, what did you guys think of the Spotify uploads? So for those of you that are new on here that didn't listen, maybe I broadcasted almost live from the Arnold. So I was sitting front row center at prejudging, and I recorded my thoughts as the ladies came out on stage for each of the female divisions. And as soon as they were done, I uploaded it directly into Spotify so that you guys could go back and watch it or listen to it. It was just audio. It wasn't visual. It was audio. So that you could go get the live feed, from the Arnold, watch it along with my thoughts and my commentary. Good. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I really loved doing it. So what you guys heard on those Spotify channel and on those wrap-ups or commentary wasn't a wrap-up. This is a wrap-up. It's been a few days, you guys. Hold on. Like I gotta get my brain together here. What's up? Welcome. So that's what I do when I'm at shows. Like I literally will sit in the audience and that's how I talk when I'm at shows. Simon, one of the photographers, was actually sitting next to me during the bikini prejudging. And as I was talking, he was just nodding his head in agreement, like everything that I said, he agreed with kind of thing. So that's literally what I do when I go to shows. So what you were hearing is the discussion that I'll have with, whoever it is I'm sitting with in the audience, that kind of thing. And we'll kind of talk about what we see and all of that. A couple things I wanted to talk about before we actually pull up the pictures. The pictures are all on Muscle Insider, so they're very difficult to get to load and to go through and pick ones that you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of pull up the top comparisons from each of the female divisions that we covered so that we can kind of discuss that. But I also wanted to talk about how the judging scoring works. So I mentioned this in my stories because people always ask about this kind of thing as far as how do they calculate, what scores become what, that kind of thing. So let me pull up the score sheets real quick so I can show you this while we're talking about it. Is that the score sheets right there? I think that's it. Hold on. Let me make sure I got the right page up. Yes, that is. Let me pull up. Here, I'll pull up this one right here. Okay. So we got the score sheets here. I'll go ahead and leave the chat up. Hopefully you guys can see this. If you can't see it, it's on ipbpro.com and they've got the score sheets up so you can see all the scores from all of the different divisions and everything on here. So essentially how this works is they drop the high and low scores, but you have to also understand that they only have 5 scoring judges total. So at a big show like the Arnold or the Olympia, if they've got 10 judges, then half of those scores are getting thrown out, right? So if somebody wins by 2 points or 1 point or whatever, there could have been judges that put that person first. There could have been people that put them fourth. Like, you just don't know. There's no way to really figure it out, because the top score is the lowest, just like golf, right? You want to have the lowest possible score. So if you have the lowest possible score of everything put together, then you are going to win the show, right? So fitness is what is up here at the top. Fitness is a little bit different. So physique round counts for 1/3 and the routine round counts for 2/3. Okay. So when you look at this, I'm not sure if you can actually see this or not, but on the physique round, between the top two was Ariel Kadar and Jacqueline Baker. So the physique round, Jacqueline actually won the physique round. Okay. She had a score of 7, whereas Ariel had a score of 10. But then you go into the routine round and Ariel got a 10, Jacqueline got a 20, which means that Ariel won the physique round. Or I'm sorry, the routine round. So that's why when you put the two together, that's why Ariel ended up in first and Jacqueline ended up in second, right? When I was watching them at prejudging, as far as their physiques were concerned, they were very, very close with their overall look. I think that I personally actually preferred Ariel's physique over Jacqueline's, with the caveat of Ariel was shaking a lot in her routine and during comparisons. It was really hard for her to hit and hold a pose. I think if she was a bit calmer, and I think if she was able to hit and really hold those poses without all of that shaking, this could have been a different outcome for the physique round, because I felt like she had a little bit of a better pop to her muscle overall. She just had a little bit better quad sweep. She had a little bit better of a lot of little things, but you couldn't really see that because she couldn't hold her poses, right? So I understand why Jacqueline won that. And then when you go into the actual routine rounds, Ariel's routine was a whole lot higher energy. I actually thought that Jacqueline's was a lot more technically correct. But when you talk about POW and presence and things like that, we're talking about Ariel, right? She definitely won it on that. She missed a trick that she was doing. I was sitting next to Whitney Jones, so I was lucky enough to have a previous Miss Olympia sitting next to me as we were watching the routines. So I had some help with looking at the different skills and all that kind of stuff. So, in general, Ariel's routine was just a lot more high energy, that kind of thing. So I think that got her scored a lot better. So there's your fitness wrap up right there with the scores. Now, when we go into Bikini International, let's look at this. So when we're looking at their scores, Laura Lee won by 2 points because she got a 7 and Maureen Blanquisco got a 9. Okay, so that means they were only 2 points apart. So they were 1 and 2 that way, right? So yeah, she was nervous and shaky. She was. We're just commenting on that comment. And then Jen was pretty handedly in third, and so was Ashley in fourth. I mean, that was pretty apparent that they were third and fourth. But it was a tight battle between Laura Lee and Maureen. And I didn't go talk to the judges or anything like that. We'll go into this a little bit more when we go and look at the photos and stuff. But we'll talk about how that came out. I actually felt like this was pretty much how it went for all the female divisions. The top 2 in each division, including in wellness, could have flip-flopped, right? So I think the top 2 in fitness could have flip-flopped. I think the top 2 in bikini could have flip-flopped. And I think the top 2 in wellness could have flip-flopped, just depending on your preferences and depending on what you like and the look that you like, right? So when we look at wellness, so Angela was at a 9. And then Cassandra was at a 6. So that means Cassandra beat her by 3 points. So Cassandra beat Angela by 1 more point than Laura Lee beat Maureen, which means there were judges that liked both of the girls that were in those top 2 spots, right? And then you got Ryan in third pretty handedly, and you got Alexis in fourth pretty handedly, which that was the cool part of the whole show, I think, seeing Alexis in that 4th place position. We'll talk about that in a minute too with her. Um, but I agreed with I agreed with the results across the board, really, when it came down to it. I could have seen a few people flip flopping. Like I said, the 1 and 2 spots in each division could have flip flopped, and I would have been okay with it, right? At the end of the day, I think it was a very tight show between the top 2 spots in each of those divisions, basically. So let's go to fitness real quick, and I was going to pull this up. Hopefully you guys can see this photo. I'm not sure if you can because it's a little small, and I can't make it any bigger than that. I could get rid of the chat overlay. Let me do that. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, that helps. Let's do that. So while we're looking at these photos. So, looking at the photos here, I mean, I pretty much can clearly see why Jacqueline would win the physique round. Looking at this, she has those capped shoulders that are quite a bit bigger. Where I saw Ariel in general being a little bit better was she just looked like she had a little bit more pop all over the place, as opposed to like Jacqueline was a little bit too feathered through her quads, that kind of thing. But again, I really am okay with it. It could have flip flopped. I'm really okay with Jacqueline winning the physique round and Ariel taking second here. And again, it goes back to, I think if Ariel could have held her poses a little bit better, then she may have pulled this win out here. So that's unfortunate. I think she just had a lot of pressure on her, that kind of thing, because she wanted to come in and retain the title. Sometimes that happens. Thankfully, she made up for it in the routine round, right? So just wanted to point that out there. Let's move over to wellness next. So this is your top 4 in wellness. And I think that they judged this very well. So I'm going to talk about a few key points here with these ladies and kind of move through this. And as I'm talking, if you guys have questions, you want to type them in, go for it. As I get into each one of these divisions, each one of the ladies, that kind of thing, because I covered a lot of this in my Spotify, right? I covered a lot of this already. So we're just kind of doing a quick wrap up of everything and just making sure that we cover all these points. And I can tell you a little bit about why I think certain people won, right? So I wasn't a huge fan of the light colored suit, the light purples on either Angela or Cassandra. Cassandra's had a little bit better color. Angela's I didn't like at all. It blended really a lot with her skin tone. And her tan was too light as well. Cassandra could have been a little bit darker too. Here in this photo, she doesn't look like it. Here in this photo, she doesn't look like she needs to be darker, but in person, she could have been a little bit darker. The one that a lot of people were like, well, why didn't she win this, was Rayanne Fogel. And to be honest with you, when I was sitting there in the audience, my eye kept going right to her. My eye kept going to Rayanne the whole time. And she just has a really great look. I think the reason why she was in third and outside of those top 2 spots is she's just too big, specifically in the upper body. She just has a little bit too much size, right? So she has to bring it down just a little bit, because her shape to me screams wellness. But I just think she just has a little bit too much muscle, a little bit too much density, and in general, overall, but specifically on the upper half of her body. When you look at her in this lineup here in the green, as opposed to everybody else, you can see that she's clearly bigger than everybody else, right? So I just think that's probably the main thing. And she's going to have to streamline her physique so that she can move up. Because overall, I do think her overall look fits wellness the best out of everybody. But I was happy to see that the judges did not reward that size, because when you start going and playing the size game, it can get out of control really fast. And I was actually very happy to see both Cassandra and Angela in those top 2 spots, because they were not the biggest girls on stage. They were the most streamlined girls on stage, to be honest with you. Now, Alexis took 4th, which I think is phenomenal. So she is a brand new pro, has never competed at the Olympia, has never competed at the Arnold. She hasn't even been a pro for a year yet. If you guys listen to the interview that I did with her, she's a local girl. She's here in the DMV area. She took 2nd in Tampa this year. So she came very close to qualifying for the Olympia, but she needed to put some size on, some density in her glutes in order to be able to hang. So she took off season versus continuing to push. When she came into this show, this was by far the best look I've seen on her. She still needs to be a little bit tighter from the back. And I did talk to the judges about her. And basically what they said was that her upper body's perfect, not to change a thing, not to change a single thing about her upper body. and just to add a little bit more size to the lower half, the glutes and the hams and the back, basically, and get tighter, this much tighter. But with that said, I think that the look that she has now can win her a show and qualify her for the Olympia. And what I would do, and this is what she reached out to me and asked me to, and what I would do is, if I was her, is I would keep prepping to win a show. And once she's got her Olympia qualification, to go in and just grow into the Olympia. So then she'll have time. So the good thing about her doing her prep now and trying to get that Olympia qualification now is that she will be able to take time between whenever she does win a show to the Olympia. So I really think that that's going to happen for her. We'll see. I think she mentioned she's going for Texas, I think, in a few weeks from now. So that'll give her an opportunity to tighten up just a little bit, which is exactly what she needs to do. And I think she's got a great look. And then the other critique that I gave her is that I would just like to see a little bit more volume in her hair on the top, just a little bit flat on her head. And I know that's kind of her look, but at the same time, if you look at the other ladies, they're just a little bit more glam when it comes to their hair and their overall look there. So I'd like to see that from her as well. Just give her a little bit more oomph on the top of her head there and just bump up that glam presence for her. But other than that, I mean, this was a huge win for her. Angela, I felt like this was a subpar version of Angela. Again, going back to, I wasn't a fan of the suit. I'd much rather see her in like the red that pops on her skin tone. Her tan does need to be darker, and her posing was really off. The only thing I could think of when she was posing was that she was keeping her hands like almost stuck to her body. And I'm wondering if she got feedback from the Olympia or something where they told her they didn't want to see her arms flowing all over the place. Because as you guys know, some of these wellness girls can get a little bit crazy with their arms. So I'm wondering if she got feedback that she needed to pull her arm movement down. And in the process of doing that, she just got her arms really stuck to her body. Like, you guys know, when you work with me for posing, we try to find a flow where we don't have the arm movements being overpowering, but we have them moving with you, right? So that's the goal here. We want to have movement there. And I just felt like she just kept them so stiff that it actually screwed up the rest of her posing. The way she tried to turn through her turns and pose, and like she didn't have any momentum, right? It was really odd. So I'm hoping she got feedback on that, because it was distracting more than anything else. It was distracting. So for me, this was not the best look that I've seen from Angela. I don't think that it was wrong as far as putting her in second. I think that she's in the right spot as far as second is concerned. Now with Cassandra winning it, initially when she came out, I was like, man, she needs some more size in her legs. That's what I thought when I saw her posing by herself. But then once I saw her with everybody else, I was like, actually, she's not too bad. Like she's got some good balance from top to bottom. I think she can still stand to add a little bit more size. But again, going back to, I'm glad that they rewarded her versus rewarding somebody that had too much size, right? I would rather they keep the size under control, keep the conditioning under control. That was another thing too. Her conditioning wasn't too far. She had really good conditioning right down the middle. It wasn't too much. That's another thing that we have to always be looking at when we're looking at these female divisions. The conditioning can get out of control really, really quick. And that just bumps the whole division up another level. So I felt like overall she did have the best package on stage that day. Now, is this worthy of beating Francielli at the Olympia? I think she's still going to need some more size to be able to do that. But the good thing is she just won her Olympia qualification. So that means she has time to go put that size on. She came from figure. So she's always going to have to be downplaying the upper body and upplaying the lower body, right? Pulling up the lower body, pulling down the upper body. So, now that she's got that Olympia qualification, she has time to go make those changes and those improvements for the Olympia and potentially get up into those, those top 3, top 2 spots, because she's already up in the top 5. She took 4th this past year. So she's already up there. Now it's a matter of making those improvements to creep her way up. But with her winning this show, with Issa having an injury, we'll see how Issa recovers, but Cassandra could potentially be the one we're talking about as far as the one that could dethrone Francielli at the Olympia. So I'll be watching for that. And it's nice to have somebody that's not Brazilian in those top spots. She's Canadian. So it's nice to see that we've got somebody from another country that that is coming in and actually giving these Brazilians a run for their money a little bit, right? So again, across the board, I felt like this division was called correctly. I wouldn't have placed people differently. I would have placed people exactly like this. So more than anything, I was very happy to see this judging happen for wellness, because wellness being such a new division, we need to be able to keep this under control, right? We need to be able to make sure that the size doesn't get out of control, that the conditioning doesn't get out of control. And I think they did a good job. So let me pull up the chat overlay for a second so that you guys can chat in if you'd like before we move on to bikini. Any other notes or questions that you had on wellness before we move on to the bikini lineup to round out this evening? And again, if you want to hear what my thoughts were during the show, you can go to Spotify. So Spotify is right up there in the corner, that QR code at the top. That QR code up at the top there, that will take you to my Spotify list. So you can actually listen to the prejudging commentary that I did while I was there. My question to you guys too is, do you want me to do that for more shows? I mean, obviously I attend a lot of shows throughout the year. I can't say I can do it for all the NPC shows that I go to. I think that would be a little bit futile too, because we don't have live feeds. So it's kind of hard to put commentary along with shows when you don't have a visual, right? I will be on the official commentary for the Warrior Classic, and I will be on the official commentary for the DC Pro-Am. So I will be on the live feed for the actual live feed for those ones. So I'm thinking, I'm going to be going to Pittsburgh Pro and things like that. So I could be doing the Spotify stuff when I'm there watching those kinds of pro shows, right? Pittsburgh does a live stream, all of that too. So that's something that you could do and go listen to afterwards, after the live feed is over, or after the prejudging is over. I got a lot of people that were messaging me just saying that the Spotify kind of saved them because they weren't able to get the live stream to play, the official one, or whatever it might have been. Or, the other part that you have to remember too is that if you're part of the official live stream commentary team, sometimes they have these like rules and regulations in place where they don't want you to be too controversial. They don't want you to be doing too much critiquing of the athletes, that kind of thing. One of the good things about the live streams that are here in the Mid-Atlantic zone that I am a part of is they encourage that. They want us, for those of us that go on those live streams, they want us to be giving critiques to the athletes that are on stage. So that you, as an athlete or as a fan or whatever, when you're watching, you can actually learn from it, right? So when change in posing can make you overthink something else, struggle. Yeah, you know that, don't you, Karen? Did you get your critique from me today, maybe? Yes, and that was the thing. That's kind of what I thought happened to Angela with the arms. I don't know. I don't know if that's what happened. But that's just my thought process. My thought process is they may have told her to calm her arms down. And then that's what happened from it. And that helps because most people don't understand the judging. So the commentary really helps. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I get that. Like, I know people are trying. I know people are trying to understand what's going on. But unless you study this stuff, it's really hard. Unless you study this stuff, it's really hard to understand what the criteria is. And I get that. Bodybuilding is easy. Bigger, stronger, freaking rounder, more conditioned, that more is the men, right? The women are not that, right? The women are down the middle. The women, you have to stay down the middle. Like I was saying, we can't have too much size. We can't have too much conditioning. We can't have not enough size. We can't have not enough conditioning. You have to be down the middle. And it's really hard to judge that. So a lot of times people that don't pay attention to these divisions and don't pay attention to the sport cry politics and cry this and cry that, when in reality, they're just not paying attention to the criteria, right? The criteria was absolutely followed all weekend. 100% was followed in every division, right? So, just from somebody who lives and breathes this, you know what I mean? Like I can tell you with confidence that across the board, the judges made the right calls, right? So anyway, so let's move into bikini next. So this was the one where a lot of people had their own opinions and things like that for it. Again, I think it went pretty according to plan. Like I said, like I personally at prejudging had Maureen winning it. But she did take second by 2 points to Laura Lee. And the other thing that I said was for Laura Lee, this was probably the best look I've seen on her like ever. Like this was probably her best look. I was curious to see how this was going to go down because when she stepped out on stage, she was noticeably fuller and softer than the Olympia. Probably the softest I've seen her, like at all, ever, right? It was the softest Laura Lee I've seen. So part of me was like, I wonder if they're going to like that, right? I'm wondering if this is going to be a good thing. I'm wondering if it's going to be a bad thing. Obviously, it was a good thing. So they are sticking to the criteria very, very closely, you guys. Pay attention to this, right? They did the same thing with Maureen at the Olympia. She was soft. Maureen was soft, and they rewarded her for it. I actually felt like she might have been a touch tighter here at the Olympia or here at the Arnold than she was at the Olympia, Maureen. But not by much, not by a long stretch or anything like that. I actually felt like her package was just as good here as it was at the Olympia, and I really think it just came down to judges' personal opinion and preference when they were choosing between those two girls. And like I said, after prejudging, I don't have a problem with either one of them winning because they both stuck to the criteria very, very well. One thing that I noticed as soon as Laura Lee walked out on stage is that her little sparkle in her eye was back. You know, that was something that I did not see from her at the Olympia. I knew at the Olympia something was wrong, right? I knew something was wrong at the Olympia. When she stepped on stage here, you could see that her fire was back. And that's a big thing. Your presence when you're in this elite group is a big, big thing, right? So that was there for her, and I was very happy to see that. I actually talked to her a little bit the day before in the gym, and I don't know what her stage weight was officially because I didn't talk to her since the show, but she was saying, because I asked her, I said, you know, I watched your YouTube video, and you said that you were 125 pounds going into the Olympia. I said, isn't your stage weight usually 133? She goes, yeah. She goes, yeah, they told me to put on 7 pounds. They told her after the Olympia she needed to put 7 pounds on. So I don't know what she actually came in at here at this particular show, but it was significantly heavier than the Olympia. And going back to, she's a tall girl, right? She's obviously the tallest one in this lineup. And when you're tall, you can put on weight real quick and look good, or you can lose weight real quick and look like a string bean. And at Olympia, I felt like she looked like a string bean. So my one critique on Laura Lee is I do think that her glutes are just a little bit too big. They're balanced with her frame, but I still think they're just a little bit too big. If she wants to win the Olympia this year, which I'm sure that's her goal, I would try to downsize them just a little bit because they were significantly larger than everybody else on that stage. And again, they fit her frame. They fit her because, again, she's a tall girl. She's got the delts to match. She's okay. She's balanced from top to bottom. But just it's significantly different when you're looking at her versus the other girls. Let me see if I can find a back shot. Like I said, this Muscle Insider is really hard to pull up these pictures. So let me see if I can find a back shot where they are all they're all posed in their back shot. Give me just a second here. Let me see if I can find it. I like the pink suit on Maureen better. She still looked great though. You know, I agree. I think I liked on Maureen. I do think I liked the pink suit better. I do. I think it was a better look on her. I think it popped on her more. And she did wear a different suit for finals. Let's see. They're almost all posed. Let me see if I can get one where they're all posed. I think, here we go. Here's one where they're all posed. Okay. Okay, so there's their back shot. So, you know, again, when you're looking at this back shot, you can clearly see that Laura Lee's glutes are the biggest ones on that stage. And that's why I had Maureen in first and Laura Lee in second, because I felt like Maureen's balance was more attainable, whereas Laura Lee is, and I've said this before, is a genetic freak. And she just looks, and I mean that in the best possible way. She just looks incredible, right? So don't know what her feedback was, but if I was her, I would probably try to downsize the glutes just a little bit. Keep the same shape, keep the same fullness, the same roundness, but just bring the size down just a touch, right? But Like I said, it was splitting hairs between the two of them. It was splitting hairs between the two of them. I thought they both looked great from the front and from the back. I thought these were very, very good looks across the board for the two of them. I thought they were pretty close. There, like I said, Laura Lee. I think this was probably Laura Lee's best. Maureen, I think it was pretty close to her best, if not a little. She was a little bit tighter. I did like the pink suit better. I'll be honest. I did like the pink suit better, but I think that her physique look was just as good. So going into the other two, Jennifer and Ashley. So there's a few things with Jennifer, and actually I mentioned this too. She fixed a few of them going into finals. If she had done at finals what she did at prejudging, she may have been in the running for the top two spots. One of those things is what you see right here in this photo, and that is her back pose. She's squatting into her back pose. I'm not sure exactly why she's doing that. When I tell you guys about your posing and stuff like that, we want to have the knees just slightly bent, but not squatting. There's a fine balance there, right? You want to have softness in the knees, but not bent. And she's bent and sitting into it, which flattens the glutes out. She also has her toes out too far. That doesn't help. Now, I think what she's trying to do in this is she's trying to get her glutes to be activated and pop and get the hamstrings to pop. That's what it looks like she's trying to do to me. But it didn't come off that way. It didn't happen that way. It just looked uncomfortable more than anything else. And it really, to me, diminished her glute pop in general. She was also a little bit too light with her tan. She did come back at finals and she was darker. Now, the reason why that tan made a difference too is she wore a different suit, which I actually thought was really pretty. I really liked the suit, but it was an ombre suit with more lighter pinkish stones in the center. And what that did is it created this look of chest. Like I saw a lot of chest. The first thing I saw when she walked on stage was her bikini top. And when, we always talk about that. Whenever you walk on stage, you don't want to see one body part over another. And the first thing I saw when she walked on stage was her bikini top. So just my 2 cents is I would go back to the dark purple. I think that just flattered her more. Again, I don't think this suit was bad. I think it was very pretty. It was almost too pretty. Took my attention away. Right. So those kinds of things. Her front pose was a little off. I know that she's been working on that. I saw the posing that she did when she went to the NPC News Online gym, and they're correcting her front pose. Her front pose was a little bit off at prejudging. And again, I felt like it was a little bit better at finals. So I don't know if she just kicked off the dust and the jitters and things like that, and then she came back out better at night. Maybe that helped her stay in that third place position. But I feel like if she had fixed all those things for prejudging, she may have had a shot of getting up into those top two. Ashley was just small and looked flat to me. She was posting some previews going into the Arnold that looked phenomenal. She had changed up her front pose a little bit. Let me see if I can go back to the front pose that I had up before. We've got the back pose up here. So you see Ashley here. She did need to be darker on her tan as well. Let me see if I can find a front pose of all of them, since we're talking about those right now. Hang on a second. Her front pose, when she was posting on Instagram, looked really good. It was really well balanced, made her waistline look teeny tiny, all of that looked really, really good. So I was hoping we were going to see that pose when she came on stage. Now, her actual routine was a whole lot better. She had a lot more flow and everything to her routine. But her front pose, and if you guys can see this or not, she's really straight on with her front pose. So because she came straight on with her waistline, that actually made her look too broad through the shoulders. She needed to twist this waistline more. If you look at her versus Laura Lee and Maureen and even Jennifer, they're all twisted more. And you can see here, we were just talking about that. Jennifer's got to work on her front pose a little bit. She's pushing into this back leg, which is making her off. Makes her look like she's tilting forward. She needs to get all of her weight on this back leg. And again, I think that's because they were critiquing her posing when she went to the NBC News gym, and she's probably just getting a little bit messed up here is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking her muscle memory probably took over, that kind of thing. And maybe that's the case here with Ashley as well, because what it looks like to me with Ashley is it looks like she's trying to make her upper body look bigger, which is what she needed to do. But at the same time, her waistline is too far forward. So it made it too big up across the top in comparison to her lower. Again, she's actually the smallest competitor on this stage, but we got to look at balance. And the way that she is balancing her upper body with her lower body, she's too broad across the top. So I feel like if she had twisted her hip bone to the side and twisted that waistline to the side, that would have put everything into the right proportions for her right there. And that's the piece that she was missing on this front pose. I also felt like she was a little bit watery through the midsection when she came out on stage. It just looked, and it may not have been water, it may have been glaze or something like that, but it just looked really soft and watery through the midsection. Just overall, she just looked soft. Didn't look like she filled out and popped quite like she normally does. Looks a little bit small, that kind of thing. So again, she came back to finals and she looked like she popped more at finals. So I don't know. I mean, it could have been something simple. It could have been she was tired. It could have been nerves. It could have been anything, something little like that. Same thing that we're talking about with Jennifer, that just brought their looks from being what could have been 100% to 90%. And when you're stepping up next to 100% Laura Lee and 100% Maureen, that 10% makes a difference, right? A 2% would make a difference, right? So when you're in that top four, that top five competitors in the world, there is zero room for error. So if there's anything that's just a little bit off, that's it. We saw that happen with Laura Lee at the Olympia, because Laura Lee was off, she went in, potentially she was being talked about potentially winning to being fifth place, right? So just as quickly as Laura Lee went from fifth to first, any one of these top four here could do the same thing and turn around tomorrow, right? And I did talk to Maureen a little bit after finals, and she was just like, I'm going to take a break and, just relax a little bit. I've been prepping ever since Boston Pro. She's been in prep all year, All of these girls have been in prep for several months because they had to prep through the holidays. We talked about this in our preview going into this. All of these athletes prepped for the Olympia and then kept going for another 2 months. That's hard to do. That's hard to maintain. That's hard to hold. It's hard to keep your mental state, let alone your physique, right? So I think a lot of these girls were just at the end of their peak. They're just at the point where they just gotta take a break. And that probably worked in Laura Lee's favor as well, because she went balls to the wall going into the Olympia and came in too small. So all she had to do was fill back out. So she actually probably had a pretty easy prep going into this Arnold versus what she did going into Olympia. So that probably worked in her favor, right? She went overboard going into Olympia. So all she had to do was bring it back down, right? So at the end of the day, I'm good with every one of these results. I'm good with every single thing that the judges did. I was very happy again when we're talking about wellness. They did not reward extreme conditioning. They did not reward extreme size. Same thing in bikini. They rewarded soft, round, full curves, right? Not overly conditioned, not too lean, not too hard, all of that. So I was very happy with the direction of all of the criteria judging. Plus, I was happy that the competitors brought the criteria too. So that was really good as well. The judges can only judge what shows up. And if you show up looking hard and nobody else is soft, guess what? Somebody hard is going to win, right? That's just how this works. So competitors, you need to bring the criteria. And I'm sure, like we're talking about, again, I was talking to Laura Lee, I'm sure with her, she felt like she wasn't doing enough. She likes to come in lean and shredded and things like that. So she probably felt like she wasn't doing enough because she was coming in fuller and rounder and softer. But that's the look and that's the criteria. So she stuck to her judging feedback and she came back better. And this is what happened for her, right? So in general, going into this year, my advice, bring the criteria because the judges are rewarding it. Bring the criteria because the judges are rewarding it. So it was encouraging to see that. Again, I felt like the judging at the Olympia was spot on as well. So we're seeing a very clear delineation of this is what we want and this is what we're going to reward, right? So it was a good thing. I think it was a very good thing. Personal preferences aside, I felt like across the board, the judging was on point. So, any other questions that you guys had about the show itself? Any of the judging results that you have questions about? Anything that I didn't cover? I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the Spotify. Like I said, I really loved doing that. That was a lot of fun. It was a little nerve wracking because they switched up the order like last minute. They were saying one class was going on when another class was going on, and I was like, damn it, I got to put my microphone on. So, that kind of thing. But other than that, it wasn't bad. It was fun. I enjoyed it. So people probably thought I was kind of crazy sitting in the audience talking to myself, but I'm like, I swear I have a mic on. I have a mic right here. I promise. So just made it fun. And again, if you guys are not following us on Spotify, that's what this QR code right here is for. So you can scan that QR code and that will take you right to our Spotify. So you can listen to that. I will take this video that we're doing right here, and I'll put that into Spotify as well. So whenever we do a live feed, I'll go ahead and upload it into Spotify when we're done. So got a few interviews, didn't get a lot. All the girls had huge lines, and I felt bad taking up their time. So I got the ones I was able to. I got a few. So I was happy with that. Would have liked to get more, but like I said, I mean, they only do meet the athletes for like 2 hours. So everybody had long lines and all of that. So is what it is, but I got you some. Any other questions, guys? Bottom line is this, these last couple of big shows have made me very happy with the judging criteria being stuck to and rewarded. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this year goes with qualifications and all of that. And this means we're off to the races. The Arnold is the official start of the new competitive season, and we're rolling right along. So with that, tomorrow night we'll be back on live again. I haven't decided what we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about something tomorrow. We'll figure it out. And those of you that happen to be on here right now that are my new sponsored athletes, we have our very first live meeting directly after my live feed here tomorrow night inside of our Facebook group. So if you haven't seen my post there, make sure you're in our Facebook group tomorrow night after I get done with this live, okay? Because we're going to go over everything for the new year for you guys. And with that, we're going to wrap up the Arnold. That's it. We're done. It's a wrap. Again, happy for all the ladies, happy for all of the results. It was a fantastic weekend. It was so much fun. I really loved doing that. So I'm hoping I can do more of it. And I appreciate all the support from you guys, all the support that I had at the Arnold itself. It was really cool to see you all when you came up and said, hey, and hi, and saw me and all that kind of stuff. So always feel like you can come say hello to me at a show, unless I've got my microphone on and I'm doing commentary at that moment. But other than that, you can come talk to me anytime. And with that, I'm going to let you guys go for this evening. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you back here tomorrow night. It's way too early to be talking about Olympia chances. We'll talk about that as we get in later in the season. Way too early to be talking about that stuff. So with that, let's wrap up for this evening. And if you would like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits and posing, all of the fun stuff when it comes to competing. And we'll see you back here tomorrow night, 8:15, same time, same place. Oh yeah, and Andrew. Sorry. Hold on. Before we log off. So of course I watch the men as well. So I'll give you my 2 cents. Samson definitely deserved to win. I thought Andrew should have taken second. That was my personal opinion. And Nick would have been in third. That was me. That was what I thought. I thought after prejudging, it was very, very close between Andrew and Samson with Nick in third. Finals, Nick came back better for sure, but I don't think that he came back better enough to beat Andrew. I think that Andrew still should have been in second. I think that Samson was very clearly in first. And I thought personally that Andrew should be right behind him in second. But with that said, everybody's excited about Andrew, you guys. Andrew's not going anywhere. We have, for those of you that don't know, we have a Andrew Jacked Cutie fan club. So now Andrew's just gotta add some size. That's it. For those of you that don't know, Andrew has only been bodybuilding for 1 year. He's been bodybuilding for 1 year. So give him a second. For those of you that don't know, Andrew Jacked won the Arnold Amateur last year, which gave him the automatic qualification for the Arnold this year, which means this time last year, he was an amateur. He was an amateur this time last year. So just saying, give him another year. He's going to be a future Mr. Olympia. That's all I got to say. Really is. He says when the Texas Pro. Yep. Yeah. I think that this was probably the best Andrew I personally have seen. But he needs to, no. He's been, that doesn't count. European League doesn't count. That doesn't count. I'm sorry. It doesn't. No, he's been bodybuilding for 1 year. 1 year. He's been a pro for 1 year. So with that said, look out. He'll be coming in with a crazy package for the Olympia, I'm sure. And he's not going nowhere. The people are thinking he could win the Olympia this year. I don't know about winning the Olympia this year, but definitely in the next couple of years, I could see it 100%. So that's my 2 cents. And I was very happy that Samson won it because he absolutely deserved it. He 100% deserved it. So, and anyway, I hope you guys have a great evening. That's my 2 cents, and that I'm sticking with it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Okay. Go fangirl in the cutie club for Andrew. Okay. Go fangirl. I'm going to log off of Instagram first, and then we'll log off of YouTube. So good night, you guys.